I believe personally, had a hand in whatever happened to Charlie. I don't know how thoroughly involved he was, but I know something isn't adding up. One of the people in that text thread that Candace was just referring to is the person who Jen refers to as the LBJ of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Who stood to benefit the most from his demise? Well, Andrew Kolvet is one of those people. And so we're going to kick this off specifically with his response. His response to Candace Owens saying that Charlie Kirk had officially shifted on Israel. And I've got the receipts to prove it. And she did prove it. But here's what he had to say.
I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there.
Oh, you're excited? Really? I would think that somebody like you, if you actually had these receipts and did know that this in fact was true regarding Charlie's shift on Israel, that you probably would have used, let's face it, you're desperately trying to keep the Turning Point USA operation afloat. Why wouldn't you get out ahead of Candace on this issue? Why would you have allowed her to basically own your ass and make you look like the fool that you are? I'm excited about what? How about instead you could have just said, I have to be honest, guys. I knew about this and I should have been more forthcoming about it. But no, you can't even do damage control well. You just look like a very guilty person, of which I'm sure you are. You had something to do with this. I don't doubt it for 1 second. We'll keep going, but there's going to be more to this, guys, so buckle up.
I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friend's trust in that.
Okay, you didn't want to betray your friend's trust, but why do I have the feeling that if it was a text exchange of you and others, Josh Hammer, any of these billionaire donors, Candace Owens, if this was a text exchange about Charlie's ever-dying love for the genocidal fake state of Israel, that you would have displayed that within hours of Charlie's assassination. You got your directive and you went right along with it. So this is very perplexing. I would almost suggest that it's a cover-up and you just got exposed. But there is more to what this very shady character has been doing to prevent any additional information coming out. It's the things that he said. It's his look. It's his energy. It's all there. Like I said, I can't prove, I don't have evidence that Andrew is responsible for Charlie's demise. But my goodness, if that man ain't fucking guilty of something that had to do with Charlie's assassination, I don't know what guilt looks like. Because he's got it draped all over his face.
But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care. We're not investigating every lead. We're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just like, sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned.
Well, again, I would think that if you truly cared about whether or not your friend was murdered in the fashion that you're claiming that he was murdered in, you would be digging a little deeper now, wouldn't you? But no, can't do that. And as I said, this is the thing about Erika Kirk that truly disturbs me. Now, I don't want to take this any further than it needs to because I know people like to do the gossip stuff. I have no interest in that. But is it possible that maybe Andrew and Erika were a little more friendly than one would normally expect when it's a business relationship? What I will say is that when she first hosted Turning Point USA and Andrew introduced her in the fashion that he did, it really left me scratching my head thinking, okay, there's something a little too familiar amongst these two. It just didn't feel kosher. There is something about the way he talks. There is something about the way he walks. There is something about the way he says things that would leave one asking themselves, is this guy telling us everything that he knows? I don't think so. I think he's hiding stuff. Now, do I have proof that he's hiding stuff? I am going to play you guys a clip from a channel that I am not too familiar with, but was given this information from because Andrew, who has been Charlie's second in command at Turning Point USA for years, has an interesting background. I was given some inside baseball information from a friend of the show, won't say who, but the information that was provided to me has to do with some specifics pertaining to where he's from. He's apparently a fifth-generation Nevada rancher, or that's his family. There are no details to verify that. Doesn't say where he went to college, but that he spent time in London and Kenya. He has a Hollywood background and is running the PR for this major conservative media conglomerate. There's a lot of questions unanswered about how this guy got where he got. But as a lot of you in the chat have suggested, he does appear to be from Central Casting, which is certainly very possible. Now it's starting to look like maybe he got put there, and that's why this is happening. So, I believe this is MK Ultra Truth. That is the name of the channel. Here's some interesting information about Andrew Kolvet.
Barrel headlong into a permanent surveillance state in the United States. Something disturbing has come to light surrounding the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Days before that event, Israel reportedly signed a $4 million contract with a California firm called Show Faith by Works. Now, according to new reporting by investigative journalist Brian Ferentz, the same company was behind what they described as the largest Christian geofencing campaign in U.S. history.
So what MJ Truth Ultra, I said it backwards, my apologies, but what MJ Truth Ultra is sharing here, which is very important, is that the entire revival, if you will, of the people that showed up in Glendale, Arizona for Charlie's memorial were all geofenced. Do you know who did it? Palantir. But there's more to it.
After the memorial, Even Turning Point's Andrew Kolvet openly admitted this on the Jesse Waters show, that their tech partners had tracked more than 270,000 phones in and around the stadium. Watch.
Break a little bit of news on your program, Jesse. Our partners that do sort of geotagging with devices, they told us that they tracked over 277,000 devices in the vicinity of State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona.
It's almost like he's saying it gleefully. Can you believe that we tracked over 250,000 people's phones in the same area? We geofenced all of them. It's like he's proud of it. We have no privacy. In fact, I know anything I'm saying is being recorded right now, probably going right to the NSA. Hi, guys. Hope you're doing okay. I haven't broken any laws today, just so you know. I can't speak for all days, but today I've been a good boy. But that is not something to brag about. That's something, I'm not sure how the hell you sell it, but the way he's trying to sell it is to suggest, can you believe how many people we have under surveillance right now? And it's all for Israel. Ain't that something? You know, Charlie wouldn't have agreed to that, but I did. Aren't I a good boy? Yeah, you're very good, Andrew. You're very good.
277,000. So that just gives you an idea of the scale of humanity out there. But
yeah, but it also gives you the scale of something darker. Like, how do you know that number? Did these people consent to that? Just,
I think he brings up an excellent point. How would Andrew Kolvet, producer of Turning Point USA, know how many people that showed up at Charlie Kirk's memorial were geofenced? Thank you very much, Eric. And this gives me an opportunity, guys. Thank you for the reminder, since I haven't done it yet. Guys, we have over 700 people watching right now. But if you haven't subscribed to Revolutionary Change on Rumble, make sure that you do. Because if we ever get the boot from Google and we don't have anywhere else to go, we're going to have to go over to Rumble. So make sure, Revolutionary Change on Rumble. Make sure that if you guys can go over there and subscribe right now, that would be tremendously appreciated. We are live streaming over at Rumble right now as we speak. But he brings up an excellent point. How the hell would Andrew Kolvet know any of this? Who the fuck is he? Again, central casting. Working for the Zio state. Well, I guess we're double fucked anyway, so might as well see if they're paying attention on both spots. But nevertheless, Andrew Kolvet, in the grand scheme of things, is a nobody. He is a grunt. And he comes off like a lying scumbag when he opens his mouth. And I'm going to remind you people, once we finish this clip, of who Andrew Kolvet was and why he was brought to our attention in the first place.
So you understand, people who came to the event to mourn Charlie Kirk were digitally tagged under the label of outreach. I'm going to reach out to these people afterwards. And at the same time, reports suggest that Charlie had rejected an enormous financial offer connected to foreign interests, sparking internal turmoil at Turning Points USA.
And he's right. That is what happened. But if you guys do not remember who Andrew Kolvet is, I'm going to remind you right now, this is how I knew of him. This is how Jen knew of him. Andrew Kolvet is the person who put out the lengthy ex-post talking about how the bullet that apparently assassinated Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's neck stopped the bullet. It was a miracle. It was an incredible moment that even in death, Charlie Kirk saved so many innocent lives. Now, as soon as a person like that starts spewing that bullshit, I am highly suspicious that person probably has more going on than what meets the eye. And sure enough, as it turns out, he actually does. This is something that I don't think a lot of you probably remember or even saw, but this is from the Charlie Kirk assassination.
I was standing in probably the third. Okay. I was standing from probably the third row in the bottom. I saw hit. I heard the shot ring out. I looked to my left, and then I looked over to my right. I saw him slump over in his chair forward. He slumped over. He had blood coming from the left side of his neck down his shirt.
Now, I know you can't see his face, and that's intentional, plus the hat. Would you care to guess who that is? You can't talk about this. That's Andrew Kolvet. I didn't know that. Somebody decided to share it with me and point it out, say, you know, that's Andrew Kolvet, right? And I thought, why would Andrew Kolvet be trying to stop an eyewitness to Charlie Kirk's assassination from talking? And the only reason that he would be doing that is if he's part of a cover-up. There is no other reason. He's not law enforcement of any capacity. He is the person who is next in line if something happened to Charlie Kirk. You don't think it's possible that some spook wasn't talking to him on behalf of Israel, saying, just want you to know, you know, kind of losing Charlie here. But we haven't lost you, right? No, we haven't lost you? Okay. That's good. Because guess what? There may be an opportunity coming for you. And you've got a role to play, you understand? We're not going to ask you to do too much, but you're going to have to do a couple of very important things for us. That is the great question. Well, it's Andrew, not Andre. But now you're finding out. Now you're all finding out who this guy is. Now, like I said, I don't know what he did, but I know whatever he did, it's bad. He is knee-deep in whatever this is. Whatever this is, he's involved. And he's showing it right now. You bet your fucking ass it's him, because I've seen the screen captures of the person. This is Andrew Kolvet. The second he put out that X post saying that it was a miracle that Charlie's neck saved others from being killed, that was it. I didn't need to hear anything else. And listen, Andrew was smart enough not to show his face directly into the camera. Let's finish it out.
And he slumped over and he was carried off. Get off me! Get off me!
Emotions are running high right now.
Emotions are running high right now. Somebody was smart enough to, again, my guess, this is my guess, and we don't know how long after the assassination, but we'll assume it's within, we'll say 20, 30 minutes. We'll say it's within a specific amount of time where, you know, you could tell that not everybody's running around right now. The scene was secured, if you will, but people are still on edge. Remember, what ends up happening, a lot of these events, especially this particular event that Charlie had hosted at Utah Valley State University. As I mentioned, I was at one of the Turning Point USA events in Tampa Bay. And what I remember most about there is that there was specifically a media section, a section specifically meant for the larger content creators. They had their own booths. They had their places to sit down. This is where people would communicate. You want to get on TV? You want to share your thoughts about the event? Hey, this is a great opportunity. So you go here. This is what we do. My guess is that whoever was interviewing this young man was probably somebody that Andrew recognized, and he had to shut it down immediately. Say, oh, no, you're not talking to anybody. You're going to keep your mouth shut, and this is not getting out. Now, I'm sure he's not the only person that was getting a little handsy with certain people who wanted to get in front of a camera and talk about what was going on. But like I said, this is serious. And he sure looked like him. And then I saw a couple of shot cutaways. As I said, whatever this is, whatever happened, I'm not saying that Andrew did it. What I am saying, okay, Charlie, you know what? If they just happen to look very similar to each other, whoever Cooper Brown is, now we're going to have to go after him and find out who the fuck he is. Does anybody in the chat know who Cooper Brown is? Because I don't follow Turning Point USA. I'm following Andrew Kolvet. So if anybody has some insight onto who this Cooper Brown is, they're all working in concert. This is what happens. When everyone is running in all these directions, everyone already knew what to do. Just as Jen pointed out, if you watch the moment when Kirk was killed, you had a guy that flew across the table. He grabbed something and handed it to somebody else in a matter of seconds. When people, the only reason that you ever saw what happened is because somebody with amateur video actually captured it when it happened. That's it. That's the only reason. And they were smart enough to say, ooh, I got to see something that I probably shouldn't have seen. And maybe it would be wise of me to get somebody to put it out there anonymously. Because if anybody traces it back to me, interesting. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Now we're going to have to look into Cooper Brown. He's next. The simplest explanation is often the right one. If things didn't make sense, then something was afoot. This is exactly why I have not brought up the alleged patsy. This is what matters. This is the real story. And as we know, there are always bit players that are willing to be involved, and they're willing to do it for money. Think about how many scum suckers out there right now are taking $7,000 a pop to make posts on Israel's behalf. And this is just posts, acting like jackasses. Could you imagine how much you could have been offered to get in on what's going on here? Turning Point USA is either going to be saved by the billionaires or it's not. Now, the people will ultimately speak, and they will decide whether it's saved. I don't think it will be. But I'll tell you this much. Andrew Kolvet is an untrustworthy agent of the deep state that is trying to hurt this country.